everybody's, well, people are coming on, you know, talking about you, of course, in a complimentary fashion, saying one of our listeners, she's a little lady with a big heart. Dominica Newf are happy to have her. Caesarina, I want us to start the discussion about, you know, Jael has already said you've always been involved in like everything, always, you know, very active in community, active for the youth. Tell us a bit about some of the things you've done in terms of writing, because I know you're also an author, and you have several books that you've written. So tell us a bit about that aspect of your, you know, that aspect of your involvement. What have you written, and what was the theme behind some of your work?
Okay, so writing, thanks for asking that. Writing is one of my passions. And for me, it's more about being therapeutic than anything else. When I write, it's an outlet that I get just to express my heart, to express what it is that I'm feeling at a given point. And a lot of my writings are not published, but I have been able to self-publish 2 of my books over the years. One, during the time that I was at studies at MSU, I always knew that I had to write something. And it was one of those moments in my life going to school outside of Dominica that truly challenged me in many ways. And I had to dig deep to find the true Caesarina. And what always echoed with me was my foundation. And so I thought writing about that journey, writing about the things that I expressed on Facebook at that time, and even today, if you go on Facebook timeline, it asks you what's on your mind. And so it was for me quite clear that every time I went there, I wrote something that was on my mind. And so I was able to go after a period of time and collect all those things and put them together and create a book on just the things that were on my mind during a period of time. And that is how the first book, What's on Your Mind, the Diary of an Esteemed Woman, became reality. And the latter part of that was not my writing, was not my doing or my decision where I said the Diary of an Esteemed Woman. But that aspect of that name, the sub of the book, you could say, came from my boss then at MSU, because I worked on campus at the Disability Support Services. And my boss then was Corinne Hamry. And when I gave her the transcript to read, she said, but Caesarina, this is a diary. This is a diary of an esteemed woman. And I thought, oh my goodness. And she said, yes, you should put this as part of the name of your book. And so the book really chronicles a lot of the things that make me who I am. And I was afraid that people would see it as, oh, an esteemed woman, as if she's boastful, as if she's full of herself, aloof, because I don't come off as a very smiling person. Everybody knows me as that most serious person. I've been told, you know, things about being intimidating and all that kind of thing. But if anybody gets to know me, I'm pretty simple, easygoing. So I guess I'm intense in that way. So sometimes it's a bit scary for some people who don't quite understand me, and that's okay. But I think that was my little challenge about putting that aspect of esteemed woman into the title. But it remained. And one time I was just driving into the town, and a lady saw me, and she said, and my car was written esteemed woman at the top of it. And she said, esteemed woman. And she came to me and she said, you know, I'm so happy that the young woman can say that she's esteemed, because I'm very concerned about how our young people are viewing themselves. And I thought, oh my God, okay, so there is something positive about being esteemed after all, or acknowledging the fact that we should be an esteemed people as women, as human. Okay, so that. And then my second book was probably going down towards the latter part of my studies. And I was doing, my major is sociology and psychology and sociology. Psych was my minor. And so I was doing psychology of the person or personality. And I can tell you that was one of the most difficult courses that I had to do, not because of the content of the course in terms of challenging my mind to study and get the grades. No, the grades were perfect. It was just the experience of having to go deep into me and digging out all these little areas that I had long covered ago in my life and never thought that they would have to come back to be faced, and I had to deal with them. And so I was able to write my second book, Moving Out of the Crowd. And moving out of the crowd, how to move away even when it hurts. And that is not something people really want to talk about. You know, when you're hurt, let's bury that. but how do you move away from all the elements that cause you some pain before to find yourself to heal so that you don't become the person who is hurting other people, but that you can heal so that you can become a healer even if you were hurt. And so that second book, both books are on Amazon. People can find them there, both in Kindle and Word format. And these books are what I've been able to self-publish. I've written a third book, and for some reason, just lazy, not being able to get it published. It's a book of poetry with a whole lot of poems that speak of my heart as well. So hopefully I will do it very soon. And I have a blog, so I do a lot of writing on my blog as well. Maybe since you asked about my writing, I blog as well, maybe not as often as I would like to, but I do have a blog at ceezpaul.com where people can also read my writings on various other aspects of life.
I'm glad that you were able to share that with us, especially share your both books and details of it in terms of I mean, this is Woman to Woman, right? And you spoke about being an esteemed woman, and I don't know, I feel like I need to ask you this: what in your mind, or what is your definition of being an esteemed woman? Because a lot of women might be wondering, but like just like you said, Nikki, like, well, you know, like who does she think she is? You know, what gives her the right to say that, you know, she is an esteemed woman? So can you share that with us?
Yes, thank you. The deepest foundation for being an esteemed woman in my book is to go to Psalm 139. Very simple. Psalm 139, where I was told that before I was born, he knew me, God knew me. And because he knew me, he fashioned me, created me in that. And then, of course, in Genesis, where he said that he has made me in his likeness and in his image. That is sufficient for me to know that I am esteemed. But to dig a little deeper, or to take it a little further in human terms, understanding the fact that there is absolutely no other person like me. They may have the same name, they may look like me, sound like me, I may imitate them, etc. No, they're not me, and I am not them. I am Ceezarina. That esteems me, that separates me, that sets me apart. And then when I think about the fact that Christ gave everything, and he has called me royal, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, and he has set me apart, that esteems me, and that esteems every single one of us who would embrace that reality.
Yeah, I was about to say, so every single person, can find or acknowledge and represent that esteemed nature that you speak of. I guess it's also a mindset that needs to be embraced.
Yes, certainly.
So Ceezarina, the other thing, author, yes, but very involved with the youth. Of course, you're here with us as the Assistant Chief Youth Development Officer. What led you, into that role? How did you come to be so involved with youth and youth development?
Okay, so I started, in a nutshell, I'm going to try to make this really concise because that's a long journey. But I will say that once I was going to high school, just being as a child, I started off as a young person at my church, just being part of our church youth organization. And my mentor, who has died, and may his soul rest in peace, Felix Francis Peter, was my leader then, and got me involved in youth ministry in the church, being part of youth group. And so when I was in fourth form in high school, I got to do what was called a multidisciplinary leadership training course with the youth division. And the course director then was Mr. Bernard Bontif, who I'm sure JL knows very well. And yes, and a lot of us know him over the years. He was the youth officer in the Northern District then. And so time passed, and I was working in a little shop, my first little gig, being out of school, working in a shop for 2 years. And during that time, Mr. Bontif walked into that shop, and he said, Ceezarina, I'm looking for somebody to hold on for me because I'm going to leave for a few months, and I need somebody to just take over in my absence. And I thought, wow. And he said, would you be interested? And I said, of course. And I said, oh, well, you need to give me your grades and this and that, and all the formalities. So that was done, and a few months I had not heard from him. And then sometime in February of 1996, I got a call that said, you need to come up to Roseau very soon, and we're going to have to start with us for that period of time. So long and short of it, I tend to tell people youth work chose me, because once I got in there and I was doing the work, I realized that there was a natural desire in me to help people, to serve people, to reach out to young people. And that's where it all started. So I tend to say youth work chose me because I never stopped giving my voluntary time to my church, to my community, even during that time. You know, I juggled both things. I was a youth choir director for like over 8 years in my parish, directing young people. I had a choir of about, what, 30 plus strong in the Portsmouth Catholic Church, leading them every so often, going to different places, singing at charismatic conferences and so on. So that was my passion. But the passion was not about even like the music. It was so much about getting the young people involved in something positive. And so I will go back and say, and I think it's God's doing, but I think youth work chose me above anything else. Yes.
What would you say was your greatest accomplishment? So I mean, you're not ready to like retire yet, but so you have other things that you might consider your greatest accomplishment in a couple of years. But to date, what would you say are some of the things that you're very proud to have accomplished?
I have, well, for me, I think when I look at the young people whose lives I have touched in various ways throughout the years and who they are today, the majority of them, and when they come back and they send me little notes, be it via Facebook messages or WhatsApp, and when their successes are happening, I say, Miss Paul, this is why I'm now. I am the principal of that school. Oh, Miss Paul, I am this, I am that. I am a doctor, I feel happy. And if they reach out to me and say that they are this or that, it's because they feel that I had a little bit, just a little contribution to make in their lives. For me, like that is my greatest accomplishment, to see the people whom I've worked with excel. They exceed my personal achievements. They exceed, you know what I mean? Like they have become successful and they are doing their thing and they are making the world proud. They're making a difference in the world. For me, like that's my greatest accomplishment in life.
That's so touching, because it's working with young people. It is definitely true that you want to see them even exceed what you have been able to do. And I can tell, I can hear the pride in your voice when you speak about, young people who have turned back and acknowledged your impact and have actually done great things. It is a truly rewarding feeling. I've had it myself. Sometimes I see young people that I've taught and now they're medical doctors. And I'm, if I'm sick, I have some doctors over there, that I can call on. So it's definitely a great feeling. And working with youth is so rewarding. Difficult.
Yes, it's challenging. It's painful sometimes. It's sacrificial sometimes. But every day that we look at the success stories, we feel as if it is worth it. And that's the energy to continue to do what we're doing. Yeah.
Right. So what's the main mission then of the youth division?
Okay.
Yeah, that's your division. What's the main mission?
I think the main mission for us is to ensure that our young people are fully empowered that they will become meaningful contributors to the development of Dominica, first of all, and then the world by extension. So how do we equip them, empower them with the necessary tools, the necessary skills, and abilities and knowledge in order for them to have the attitude to continue to make that difference, to be meaningful contributors to Dominica and to the world. So if you know, our ministry is a very long ministry, by the way, in terms of wording, but it's youth development and empowerment. That's what it starts with. And I kind of want to highlight youth development and empowerment. So we develop, we empower, and hoping that once we give you the development and the empowerment, that you can go out and make a difference in your life first, and then in that of society.
Serena, I'm glad that you mentioned the empowering aspect of it. I'm sure all of us in Dominica have our own views as to what we think. I remember when I was growing up as a young person, it would appear that what we aspired to be or to become seems kind of different from what young people nowadays they're entertained by, or they're encouraged by, or they sway toward. My real concern is I feel like young people have become very dependent and not very independent, among other things. In your opinion, what are some of the problems you feel that youth in Dominica are faced with or are facing, and what is your department doing in order to focus on the empowering aspect of it to get them out of that rut?
Okay, so yes. Oh my gosh, you call it a rut. Yes. So I can't chronicle all the problems that all young people face, but I can highlight one that I think every society grapples with right now. There is a level, of course, of unemployment that young people grapple with, or in some cases, some are employed but underemployed and need more opportunities for them to rise. The access to even collateral has been something that has been existing for a number of years for young people to be able to do things that they want to do. For example, start a business. And so we have at the Youth Division, the Dominica Youth Business Trust, that has sought to address, for example, that particular issue where, to a certain extent, of course, we can't address all the problems, but where the young people are able to access a loan guarantee fund, where somebody stands them, you could say, quote unquote, security for them to get a loan, a maximum of about 20,000, where they are able to start a business, or if not start a business, they have already started, but they can grow their business with that support, that backing. That's one area. Also, I mean, we do know that young people are challenged in different ways. Some, they come from different homes. A lot of them are at risk, you know. Some have abuse at home. Some have not all their needs met. When we open our doors to, for example, young people who come to our skills training program, which addresses or kind of targets, you could say, more the young people who have been sort of unable to be successful within the formal education setting. Not all, not right across the board, because, for example, in our computer literacy module, we have people coming from state college, from other institutions, from high schools, who want to pursue our computer literacy program, for example. But most of the other trainings that we offer, they are really geared towards addressing the needs of the marginalized or the disadvantaged young person who may not have had the opportunity to be successful in the formal education setting. And we empower them with a skill, with the hope that they can actually utilize, while it is entry-level skills at this point, we're hoping that they can actually take those skills and harness them and start small businesses. And we have seen them happen, actually, where young people were trained by us and they have gone further and created their own businesses with the skills that we have taught them. And so, I mean, that is one of the other challenges, you know, being able to get the kind of skills that you need and the certification so that you are able to be marketable, not just in Dominica, but outside of Dominica. And that's why now we are gravitating towards, very strongly towards CBET, which is competency-based education training, and TVET, which has to do with technical and vocational education and training. So we're hoping that our young people eventually can get what is called CVQ or Caribbean vocational qualifications, where whenever they have that certificate, they can go to any part of the world, but not just the Caribbean, but anywhere the TVET program is recognized, and be able to access work or create work for themselves, utilizing their certification at whatever level that they would be able to get. Another challenge I could say of young people in Dominica, I mean, is the fact that, I mean, I don't think it's just in Dominica, but even in the world, when you think about it, young people have more things that they have to you could say, grapple or be challenged against. You have, internet is great, right? Internet is great. And young people can use that very positively. But we also know that young people have to learn to dissect sometimes their time. How much time do I give to social media? How much time do I give to the distraction, so to speak, on the internet, and put into doing something productive? So that too, helping them to navigate time management, social skills. So we do a lot of social and related skills where we introduce them to a number of topics and things that will help them to develop themselves, their personalities. We offer leadership as well. So I spoke about the multidisciplinary leadership training course that I did when I was in high school. But we continue to offer those courses as well as counseling at the basic, the basic, the advanced, and the therapeutic levels. And just some of these are just some of the things that I can tell you off the bat from the top of my head that we offer to try to address a number of the needs of our young people. Can we do more? I would say yes, but we would need more, of course, to do more. Not more in terms of just human resource, but also resources, more resources that can facilitate what we need to do with our young people and to meet some of those needs of the young people in Dominica. So it's a challenging job. It is a noble job. We like to say that we take care of the children of the people who are given the clout in society. We take care of these to ensure that their children do not fall through the cracks. So we try our best to ensure that they are empowered, they are positive. Through the schools, we have our 4-H program. You spoke about it, JL. We have our 4-H program. And 4-H is people might say, oh, 4-H is just for children, but we have seen our little 4-Hers growing to becoming leaders in high school and then in community, and becoming the school, the head girl, the head boys, and taking that to college and becoming the leaders there and so on, because we taught them parliamentary procedures even from a very tiny age in the primary schools. We teach them they have various projects in the 4-H program. One of the main projects is agriculture. And we are an agriculture nation, and a nation that should be, ensuring that we always push production and push agriculture at all the different levels. And so we introduce our students, our 4-Hers, to agriculture very early. So we have model farms. We have, right now, just completed one, a roof. There's going to be an exemplary roof garden, you could say, at the San Sauve Primary. And just over the summer, yes, that was developed. The roof garden project was developed in order for the students when they come to school to start their project there. So, I mean, it's going to be wonderful. I think we are trying our best to see how we can touch the various aspects of the lives of Dominican youth, and we can't do it alone. Okay, so we have partners, people that we partner with on a whole.
As you were speaking, I was about to ask you about collaboration. Some of the things you spoke about, I know some other organizations, and I'm not sure, and that's why I wanted clarification. I'm not sure if these organizations are governmental. Some of them, I don't know if it's the work with youth is just a collaboration, and they are non-governmental organizations. I wanted to ask you about some of your collaborators, like for instance, the Social Center, which I know, also offers certain programs geared towards skills. Is that a collaborator? Is that a governmental facility as well? Even youth at risk, so like Operation Youth Quick, for instance, where does that fall in with the youth division? I'm trying to kind of clarify that, and I'm sure some of our listeners too.
Yes, they are.
Might want that clarified.
Okay, so we are governmental youth division, and Social Center is not governmental.
Okay.
But I can't speak too clearly as to whether they have a subvention from government. I don't know. I know government gives subventions to a number of non-governmental organizations that are youth-oriented. For example, in National Youth Council, it's non-governmental, but we do have quite a collaboration with them we've had that over the years. We have CALLS, for example, the center where adolescents learn to love and serve down at Portsmouth. They are non-governmental, but we at Youth Division have an MOU with them that was signed sometime most recently, where we are doing training, skills training, for example, in collaboration with CALLS, and to empower the trainees as well there. You also have, so you mentioned the Social Center, you mentioned Operation Youth Quick. We don't do direct training with Operation Youth Quick as far as skills training from the actual skills training module or modules that we offer. However, if they have trainees who or young people who are able to attend, we won't turn them away. But we have youth officers who go to those those facilities and actually contribute in every single one. For example, I've been to social center to do sessions with the trainees. I've been to calls to do sessions there. I know my youth officers go to Operation Youth Quick to do sessions there with the young people who are there on a regular basis throughout the year. They go. And so we do have that connection where our officers extend themselves and the services of our office and look for ways in which we can address some of those needs, both inward and outward, where sometimes my officers write letters to public, to the public, the private sector rather, to get certain things. For example, they might write to this place, can you sponsor them a ball because they like sports, and so things of that nature. I am aware that those things happen and where our officers assist those programs. And so we are not exclusive. We're all about collaboration. We recognize that youth work is dynamic. It's not a thing that we can do in our little cocoon or in our little vacuum, but we have to expand and allow other people to come in and to support them. We have a lot of other institutions. We have Ceez down on the west, as Ceez is reminding me. We also have Achievement Learning Center that we're also supporting. And this year we're going to support them again, both in 4-H and skill training. Okay. So we're doing quite a bit with those other institutions as well.
This is fantastic. This is, I feel like we've touched a lot on the youth and your work with youth, and I feel like I need to ask this question because this is something, I mean, if you grew up in the North and you know who Ceez is, one of the things that you know a lot is that she likes church and she likes to pray. And I remember we had a joke, like a joke among friends, that we called you Mother Teresa. Because whenever we referred to you, so that we did not call your name, so nobody knew it was you we were speaking to, we referred to you as Mother Teresa, because you've always been, and even like of recent, I remember talking to a few people, business conversations, and them saying, Jill, we have to make this, because I have to go log in to see Ceez prayer session. I think you have like a prayer session that happens once or twice a week. I don't know exactly the details of it, but I remember it was 7 p.m. and that person had to log on and they had to rush our meeting so they could log on to the prayer session. Why are you so devoted to church and serving and prayer? What motivates that?
It started for me, from the time I was small. I studied, I guess it's you could say the influence that other people have had on my life from a child. And I did mention Felix Francis Peter, who I will never ever forget, because I think one of the greatest impact on my life was Felix Francis Peter. But even before Mr. Peter came into my life, there was Norisa, who is now Norisa Peter, who is married to Felix's brother, but who she was Norisa King, and now Norisa King Peter. And she was my mentor as a child. And I used to go to prayer meeting with her as a little girl on a Wednesday evening, and never stopped going even after she left Portsmouth because she got married and went to Roseau. I never stopped going. And then I had other friends in the community who went and who I associated with, the Rita Walters, Glenda Hyacinth, these people. And I would go to prayer meeting with them and meet them there. And I think for me, it was Felix who made the impact, where he pulled me and said, you can sing and you need to sing. And I was afraid, I was like, me, no, I can't. And one time they had this show and he pulled me on the stage and he said, the next song is going to be sung by Ceez. And I was like mortified and shaking. And then they gave me the mic and I just had to sing. And that was the first time that I sang. I pledged Islam. You maybe know that song by Ray Bowles over the years. And that one song, I think, transformed my entire life in the sense that whole experience, in the sense that I made that decision to pledge allegiance to the Lamb and I have to maintain it. But it is having a connection with God, a relationship that I recognize needs to be nurtured. And I can't have a relationship with God and not pray. If I'm with somebody, I must connect with them on a regular. It's the same thing with my relationship with God. So that has been my foundation, the Word of God. And if you read my book, it will really tell you more why I'm this person that I am. It really does give a greater picture of the foundation, the solid foundation. And so this is really why I pray. Now, during this prayer meeting, online prayer meeting, to talk about it briefly, it really started during COVID. We were in lockdown I could not go to prayer meeting on a Wednesday like I would normally go at church. And I thought, well, what can I do to reach my friends? I was not seeing them. We could, so I set up a Zoom account and I send it out to a few people. Hey, let's pray, this week. And they're like, oh, yes, let's do it. And so we started. But then I realized, the logistics of the Zoom was pretty tough and trying to still lead the prayer meeting at the same time because I had nobody else helping me. And so one day it fell. The entire internet just went dead and my computer shut down. I was like, what is this? In the middle of a prayer meeting. And so once I came back and I realized I lost everybody, so I was like, well, let me just go on Facebook because I might as well, people might be looking for it. So I'll just tell them I'm on Facebook. And that was the first time I went live and did this, and then it never stopped. Well, it looks like I can't stop now because people are expecting it on a Wednesday. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I pray for grace and strength to continue to do this. But the long and short of it is that even if it's not online, because online is not the only place I pray, I just happen to do it because it brings people together there. But prayer is like an integral part of my life. Some people who know me working at the office, sometimes I burst into song and I have to remind myself, hey, you're in the office, just calm down, that sort of thing. Because song is really part of one of the strongest ways that I pray. I thank the Lord for music in my soul and in my heart that I can actually sing even to Him alone, whenever there is a situation. So for me, it is truly the nourishing of my relationship with God and being grounded and ensuring that I always remember at the end of the day what's most important. Because at the end of the day, JL and Trudy and folks, like nothing else really matters. Not my accolades, not anything I've done in the past to be who I am, not the good name that someone might give me, or none of that is going to, not my home, not my car. I mean, like none of that is going to matter at the end of my time. But the one thing that I know that will remain is the fact that I was connected with the Master who made me. And my greatest prayer is that my soul, once I leave this earth, my soul will be connected for eternity with God, that I will be happy at the end of it all. So for me, like that's the prize. That's what I'm working towards. St. Paul, one of my favorite persons in the Bible, he says, press on to the finish, run the race to the finish. And so for me, that's what I'm doing in fear and trembling as best as I can. Not perfect. Ceez is not perfect. I like to say that. I make plenty of mistakes. I can have a hot head sometimes. I can have a little temper now and then. I get a little frustrated too sometimes. But bottom line of me is work towards my salvation. I hope that answers your question, Tia.
Oh, you answered more than my question. Yeah, I said Sonelia, and we have like a few comments. So Sonelia said LOL when I called you Mother Teresa, because Sonelia was in the same year as I am. So
yeah, Sonelia, yes, she knows what she's saying. Oh my God, she has given me a good laugh too. That's my girl, Sonelia. Yes. What did she say though? Because I only see she put an LOL. Did she say something that I didn't?
She was laughing at the Mother Teresa thing. I think Mother Teresa, the suggestion that to me, it was kind of it was meant to be a joke, but it's, I mean, if you have to think about it, it's pretty serious. It's a pretty serious joke, because I guess we kind of fashioned. We looked for our own, I guess, person that we did not. Because we never knew Mother Teresa, So, but we heard of her and we heard of what she did. And when we saw Suzerain, I guess that's what we reminded us of what we heard. So that was the neat.
I am so humbled. I don't think I'm anything close to her because she was such a beautiful soul. I aspire to be as saintly. I aspire to be as giving and generous as she was. I have a lot of regard and respect for Mother Teresa. So if you think that I have a little bit of that and I remind you of her, then I am humbled. Yes.
Caesarina, what is next for Ceez Hall? What is next? And that, I mean, you could tell me professionally, spiritually, take it wherever you want to take it. I want to know as you go through life, what do you believe is next up your sleeve?
Wow. Boy, that's a hard question because I am one of those people who have always answered a question like that as God knows and just leave it there. God knows. There's a Chinese proverb where the man just keeps saying maybe. you know. So maybe I can say maybe, and I know CC can relate to that as I'm answering now, that we had in our CBET training. But truly, I think for me, no matter what comes, that my desire would be, or is rather, well, one, to further educate myself. I don't yet have a master's degree, and I've tried other things to try to get my degree, and it just never worked out. So I'm hoping that I can pursue that. But that is not even like for me like a big setback, because it doesn't stop me from being who I want to be, and it doesn't stop me from getting where I want to get. I have started something called a virtual community dialogue, where again, because of COVID, this whole thing just started, and I think God just keeps giving me and still in my heart to do things. And so I host a program on Friday evenings online where I try to highlight people from my community and Dominica on a whole, because I mean, just Friday I had Mr. Roach, my boss, and a few other people talking about the training. And so I see, for example, the possibility of continuing to impact lives in my community and in Dominica, in whatever sphere God directs me. You know, I like to say in whatever sphere, but whatever happens, I want you all to know that I always want it to be front and center where God is glorified. I think for me, front and center where God is glorified, right there. And whatever comes, he knows. And you guys will probably see it unfolding. I don't know. Whatever he knows, Lord, you know. So whatever, I don't know.
Arena, your posse people are still on with you. And I have Kareem. I'm going to tell you, Kareem is commenting, Kareem Farrell, and saying political office. And he's putting how many big eyes after that? It's only a posse people that can be commenting like that. So I also have a cousin of yours, Ernie, who is saying my favorite cousin Ceez. Good morning. So
thank you, thank you, Kareem. Just to tell you, I have where politics is concerned. I'm just going to tell you. A few years ago, well, not even a few, quite a few years ago, though, I was called the Dame at a meeting. It was the 10th Intersessional Heads of Government meeting in Suriname, in Paramaribo, where I went to speak on behalf of young people. I was quite younger then, and I went to speak on behalf of young people of the region and addressed prime ministers like then Mr. Edison James, Mr. Pandey from Trinidad, and all these guys. And I think the man who is Mr. Harris, who is now, I think, Prime Minister in St. Kitts, he was one of them, and he was the one who pulled me aside and he said, I think you should get into politics. I think, and I was like, politics? I don't know, you know. So, but you know what? My mother would probably say no if she has politics. I don't know what my other siblings would say. For me, I like to say whatever God desires, whatever He thinks, whatever He says. That's not my ultimate goal in doing what I'm doing. My ultimate goal is to impact the lives of people positively. And I think as long as I can do this, then that's what it's going to be. God knows. Kareem and the rest of you, God knows. I don't know.
I could say so much more. But I will hold my tongue for another day. Hold my tongue. Super, right? Yeah. You know, I have a lot of things I could pull out of that bag. But I'll leave it there for now. Raisa, just a final comment. She said you're a hard worker and a strict person with young people. Yeah. And only because you want what's best for your youth. And she just remembers you from the Ghana program.
It's called Agana. Yeah.
Agana, okay. All right. So that was a program that was held in a few years ago, and I guess she remembers working with you during that time. Ceez, it was a pleasure.
Thank you, Raisa.
Having you on here with us. You're also one of the assistant producers of the Woman2Woman show. So, of course, from us to you, thank you very much for taking the time out. Not just because you could have stayed home in Portsmouth and done it virtually, but you decided to come into studio today in order to give us, your full time. And we truly appreciate that. And we appreciate the way that you're doing for young people. I see it as a selfless act although you get paid to do it. But I feel like if tomorrow they probably said, Cesarina, we no longer can pay you, probably still do it. I'm 98% sure that you probably will still do it if they told you that there's no pay. there's no pay if you continue. So thank you very much for the work that you've done with young people, and you continue to inspire, you continue to aspire, you continue to empower, and kudos to you.
Thank you.
Thank you very
much
for having me. I hope that you thought that I had something to share, and of course for highlighting the Department of Youth, the Dominica, the Youth Development Division of Dominica. And I want to say hi to all our staff members and the work that we continue to do there. Thank you guys. I see CC is there in full, and my boss, Mr. John Root, and everybody else, for what we do to make a difference in the lives of all people. Thank you. And Woman to Woman, keep growing.
Thank you.
Thank
you. Bye-bye. Have a good day.